morning, good afternoon, and or good evening. What's going on? And welcome to the Mac Files. Today, the topic for discussion is the next WoW expansion, and what I want to see. Let me preface this by saying I have no inside information, and this is all pure speculation, my ideas and opinions of what I would like to see in the upcoming expansion. This is not any actual content that will be in the next expansion, just stuff I would like to see. So we know BlizzCon is November 8th and 9th, so in just a couple of weeks, we will see exactly what we're going to get. But before that happens, and we know exactly what it shall be, I'm going to share my thoughts about what I think it might be, and what I want to see. Now, the main theories are the expansion will be either Legion-based, featuring the return of the Burning Legion. It might be a Dark Below or South Seas-based expansion with the Naga, Queen Azshara, and the Zoth. Other theories might be the long-desired Emerald Dream, and Other Side of Azeroth, or a time travel styled expansion, which is personally one of my favorite ideas, because World of Warcraft undoubtedly has a crap ton of awesome lore, and it would be amazing to experience the many pivotal moments in WoW history, and see how we got to where we are and whatnot. I think that the Legion expansion is the most likely, since Wrathion has been hinting at their return so heavily in the legendary questline, and I think it would seem a little weird if he said all that and then we saw something else. However, I don't believe this would be the last Legion expansion, because we'd probably see a Kill Jaden end boss, because Sargeras, whatever, the head honcho of the Legion is so freaking powerful, and is in fact the most powerful villain in Warcraft lore at the moment. So if it is a Legion expansion, I think there will be another one in the future, probably going to be the last one featuring Sargeras as the end boss. Unless they decide to introduce a new villain, which they totally could do. But that being said, World of Warcraft still has a long way to go, so that would be quite far off. So now we know the kinds of things we might see, so let's get into the features and changes and other various things that they might bring to the new expansion. First off, I believe it will be from level 90 to 100, because of the heirlooms from Siege of Orgrimmar are ranged from 90 to 100. Now, depending on the expansion theme, that will dictate what the zones and zone content, story and lore, etc. will consist of. If it is Legion-based, I'm going to say that we might see either an Outland revamp, or going to a more Legion homeworld like Argus. But for questing, I think they should return to a more or less linear version of questing like we saw in Wrath of the Lich King. However, that being said, I did really like the cinematics and story in the Cataclysm and Mists of Pandaria questing. So perhaps a happy medium within that, and hopefully there won't be another daily quest Calamity. I think they know what they're doing now when it comes to that. Next, will they add new classes or races? I really don't think they will add another hero class or regular class this time, since they did just add the monk in Mists of Pandaria. So I don't believe they're ready to add another one in yet. However, I wouldn't be discouraged, because Blizzard has said that they do, in fact, plan on adding another hero class in the future. We just don't know if it'll be this expansion coming up. However, if it is the Legion expansion, this would be a perfect time to include a Demon Hunter class, which has been really sought after for a long time, and personally I think would be a total badass. But we'll just have to wait and see. They could completely surprise us. Now, as for races, they are also purely dependent on the theme of the expansion. I would really like to see Ethereals, as they're one of my favorite NPC models in the game. They have a really cool backstory, and the Legion expansion is of course a perfect time to add them. Come on, Blizz, you know you wanna. Now, whether they'd be Horde, Ally, Neutral, we just have to wait and see. I would also like to see a Dragonoid race, like the humanoid versions we see every now and again, like in the Nexus or whatever. Because a Dragonoid race would be incredible. However, they'd probably be like a neutral race, because I don't see them siding with either faction. I know a lot of people want to see Naga, but of course they have a lot of complications with armor, being that they have no feet or legs. However, the newly added Jinyu could be candidates in a Warder-themed expansion. But there are a ton of awesome races that Blizzard could add or just pull out of their ass, but as I mentioned, they would be purely based upon the expansion theme, or however they could connect them, because I mean, Worgen and Goblins didn't really fit Cataclysm, but they did bring them in and fit them well in that story. That being said, I have a good feeling that we will see 1 or 2 new races in the next expansion. A new class? Unlikely, but still possible. Now, while we're on the topic of races, let's get some new models in here. Blizzard has said that they do in fact have a team working on new character models. Whether they'd be ready for this expansion, we don't know, but they have confirmed that they are in progress, which is a good sign. Now, what I would like to see is, of course, some nicer, newer, and more polished versions of the older models. However, I would also like to see alternative character models. Now, what I mean by this is that every existing race has other race models. I think I'll make a more detailed video for this in my next project, but the basic idea is that every current race has an alternate character model that can be used for increased personal customization or whatnot. For example, people who roll a dwarf, like right now they'd just be Ironforged dwarves, so maybe they could also be a Dark Iron, Wildhammer, or Iron Dwarf, or a troll being able to be a Forest, Jungle, or a Zandalari troll. I would love to see something like that added eventually, but like I said, I'll go further in detail into it in my next video. Now for endgame content, we have dungeons, scenarios, raids, and PvP. Once again, highly reliant on the content of the expansion. However, I will talk about mechanics and additions to them. For dungeons, Mists of Pandaria did not have too many dungeons, and that was kind of upsetting, so I would most certainly like to see a lot more dungeons in the next expansion. Hopefully in the vein of the Ice Crown Citadel dungeons added in later content patches. Now, the channel Belular Gaming, I hope I'm saying that right, he's got a ton of good videos and you should probably check him out. But he brought up an idea about dungeons that I liked, and I'll link the video in the description. But I will briefly describe it. This is his idea, just making that clear. But I enjoyed it, so I will say it. Essentially, the dungeons will have 3 difficulties, being the normal difficulty you engage in while you level up. Then at level cap, you have a quote-unquote normal difficulty, attuned to the level of the level cap players, and the difficulty would be about where Mists of Pandaria heroics are now. And a third difficulty being heroic difficulty, that of course offers much better loot, and would be at the difficulty somewhere around the Ice Crown Citadel heroics, or the Cataclysm heroics pre-nerf. And this would be designed for the higher skilled players, and I think it would be fair if there was a pre-made group akin to the way heroic scenarios work now. These heroics would be truly heroic and offer a substantial challenge to players who are willing to tackle them, meaning mechanics and crowd control matter, and you won't just be able to face roll them like Mists of Pandaria heroics are now. The challenge mode dungeons, I think, should be a concept expanded upon to reward people with certain pieces of gear they might otherwise not get from a normal run, maybe being slightly better than the gear that the dungeon offers, in addition to the cosmetic rewards. I think that's a good thing. Now, scenarios were a new feature added in Mists of Pandaria, and I like the direction they're heading in. I like the story elements they show here, and what could they do with them? Of course, once again, they are reliant on the expansion content, but I would like to see more heroic scenarios, and I don't really know what they could do, but maybe find a way to make them more relevant at endgame, because once you start raiding, they're kind of just there and you don't really run them anymore. But I think it is definitely a good alternative thing at endgame to get Valor points, and I think a good expansion upon that concept is in order. World bosses, I'll just touch on this a little bit. They're definitely another cool feature they reintroduced, and definitely continue with that. Alright, now for the big one, raiding. Raids have most certainly gotten bigger and better with more interesting and complex mechanics, that is for sure. They have great story content, of course. I think you get the pattern here. They are reliant on what the expansion will be. Nonetheless, raiding can be improved. Raiding has in fact become more accessible to players with the introduction of Flex and LFR. Flex has become very popular, and Blizzard said they do like the way it's going. However, what I would like to see them do is a way to get your name out there if you want to do a Flex to facilitate the pugging process. Sort of like the Guild Finder tool, where you put in your role, your play schedule, and any notes about you, so you can put yourself in there so that people can find the interested people participating in that Flex instead of just spamming trade chat. Obviously not a Q, because that would just make it LFR. And speaking of LFR, there is definitely some problems here, that's for sure. But on the whole, it's not that bad, and it is a way for people who can't commit to raid teams to see the content and get them epics. I won't get into whether they should get rid of it or how much people love it or hate it, but I think we can all agree that it does need improvement. In LFR, a lot of people do in fact derp around and not do the mechanics properly and cause other people just to have a shit time. I'm talking to you, Siege of Orgrimmar Wing 2, prior to the nerf of course. If anyone did that wing when it first came out, oh, it was a nightmare. I know Blizzard said they wanted to implement a way that encourages people to do the mechanics correctly. This would be awesome. What I think they should do is not give gold or something, because that would just suck. But rather, my idea is that for every mechanic or two you properly do, your chance of receiving an item off that boss is increased by, say, 1% or something. So if someone does, I don't know, let's just say 20 mechanics correctly throughout a fight, they would get a 10% increased chance of getting an item off that boss. I really don't know how they would implement this, but I think it would be a great way to encourage people to do the mechanics right and just not suck. Okay. As for the talent/glyph system, this could be improved a little bit. In every expansion we do see new talents and abilities per class, so they have to change the way they're implemented and what they are. The way they stand now are good, despite them being kind of cookie cutter, but they're much easier to balance, consequently making World of Warcraft the most balanced it has been for the most part since its launch, which is a very good thing. So maybe more interesting talents and more relevant glyphs would be nice. As for the possibility of a fourth spec, most likely not this expansion, but I would really like to see one eventually, and I think I'm gonna make a video about possible fourth specs sometime in the future, but that's later on. The pet battle system was a feature added in Mists of Pandaria, and to be completely honest, it doesn't really interest me at all, but it does a lot of people. What I think they could do with this, besides adding more pets, I don't really know. I don't really follow it, but if anything, maybe like a tournament system that rewards a cosmetic pet item or something, if they haven't really done that already. Alright, so with PvP, with every new expansion, we get some new battlegrounds and arenas, but I think what PvP really needs is another Wintergraph style zone. I know Blizzard right now is bringing a bunch of high-skilled PvPers to discuss PvP, balance, and whatnot, so hopefully they will take some of their ideas into account when dealing with PvP and the next expansion. Also, maybe expanding on the Brawlers Guild a bit, and adding more content with that to draw people into that feature, which is a really cool feature, but I don't think it's not at its full potential yet. Now, one extra feature I would really like to see is an account-wide vanity item or tabard storage, kind of like the mount tab we have now. This would allow characters to use the various vanity items you have collected throughout time, like the Rime of the Time-Lost Mariner, so you don't have to get it on every character the same way pretty much the same way they treat mounts and achievements now. Also, I said tabards. Getting certain tabards on other characters, like the Exalted required ones, I feel they should just be treated the same way as mounts and achievements. However, I am aware that there are some faction-specific ones, so they can edit around these as they see fit, like say you have a Griffin on a human and a Wyvern on Undead. Like, all your future Alliance races would have access to that Griffin, and all the Horde ones would have access to the Wyvern, and not vice versa. So, like, Orgrimmar Tabard on one guy, all your Horde guys could use it, and Stormwind Tabard, all your Alliance guys could use it. Something like that. I think that would be a really nice addition, so you don't have to grind Exalted these reputations on every single character just to get a Tabard. Because I think Tabards are really cool, and they're a great addition for customization. And those are all the major features I would like to see in the next World of Warcraft expansion. Let me remind you that I have no inside information, and this is all my opinions, speculation, and things I would like to see. Take into account that none, some, or, if I'm lucky, all of this could happen. But time shall tell, and when the next expansion is revealed, I will give you my thoughts on it and its respective features. Alright, thank you for listening. I hope you liked my ideas and theories. As always, leave comments below on what you would like to see or any variations of the above ideas I would like to read. For my next video, I will go into detail about the new character models and the alternative character models I would like to see in game. So, until then, this is MacFiles signing off. Take care.